number 213 of Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Shane Haff, and you can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. And I'm joined by the best co host in the game. You've seen him on the Saturday morning spread right here on the Eagles Pinpool Network. It is Mark Henry Jr. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. NFL. Mark, it's Thanksgiving week. How are you doing this week, buddy?
I'm doing not great, I'd say. I think we're not here to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think you can make a strong case that that's one of the worst losses in franchise history we saw less than 24 hours ago, or at least in the regular season, I should say, given the rivalry, given the season, everything you could say about it. But thankfully, we're here to talk about everything other than the NFL. And unluckily, my dog, who is currently kind of trying to kill Mickey Mouse, is also upset. Also having a bad Monday, having a bad week. She's a big Eagles fan, so I apologize for my dog in advance here.
Yeah, yeah, it was a rough game for sure. And yeah, we're not here to talk about the Eagles, which is fortunate because I'm tired of talking about the Eagles. But man, that's one of the worst losses that I think I've ever watched. Just in terms of, I mean, obviously you've lost games by a wider margin than that. Just taking into context the rivalry being up 21-0. Yeah, that was a rough one. But, fortunately, we're not here to talk about that. This is a great break from watching Eagles film to talk about other NFL teams before I've got to get back to that this afternoon. But let's dive into this week's NFL action. I think there were some good games and there were some clunkers this week, but there's some good ones to talk about. And so let's kick it off with Thursday night football. Buffalo at Houston, and Houston wins this game 23-19. So they pick up a win over the Bills with Davis Mills still at quarterback, and they did it playing an unbelievable defensive game. And despite their defensive game, Josh Allen was still in a position to make it all for naught. They convert a 4th and 27 on the final drive, and then Kalen Bullock picked him off in the red zone on the play that basically ends the game. And it was actually Bullock's second interception of the day. He also forced a fumble, so fantastic game from him. The Texans defense sacks Josh Allen 8 times to go along with those 3 turnovers, and this is their 8th game this season, allowing less than 20 points. So just a phenomenal defense. And the Bills offense only produced 3 points in the final 39 minutes of the football game. Davis Mills started this game horribly, going 3 of 12 passing before he hit 9 passes in a row that led to 2 touchdown drives and helped put Houston ahead in this game. And on the Bills side, I thought they went away from the run game that was working. James Cook had 7 carries for 75 yards in the second quarter, and then the Bills just stopped giving him the football. He finished with 116 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. But they should have really continued to run the ball with him, especially as the pass rush was getting to Josh Allen. So the Bills drop a Thursday night game. The Texans get a win, and suddenly the South still looks pretty interesting. What were your thoughts on the Thursday game?
I don't want to overreact because it's a Thursday game and it's 3 days of short rest. And the Bills, I feel like probably at this point are pretty aware of fact that they're probably fighting for a wild card here, and maybe you can take your foot off the gas in terms of fighting for the 1 seed of the division that they've been used to fighting for in the past. And that's not an excuse. Obviously, you should go out there and win this game, but I'm gonna give teams like the Bills and certain teams like that a little bit more grace and before killing them when they're 7-4, losing on a Thursday night because I turned on I forget what show it was on TV on Friday morning because I was home, and you would have thought that the Bills dropped to like 7-9 on the season, and the season was over. And and I feel like I've seen this too many times with the Bills. How many years have we seen kind of mid-season swoons from the Bills before they kind of get things right and look like one of the favorites going into the playoffs? Obviously, you could turn that around on me and say, well, they haven't ever materialized as a favorite and won anything, so maybe it'll be the same thing here. But we've kind of said everything that there is to say about the Bills. I feel like we have kind of put out there how we feel about Sean McDermott. I don't ever think that they're going to win the Super Bowl under Sean McDermott or probably even get there under Sean McDermott. And the defense has serious problems against the run. This is a Texans team that I'm not I haven't dove deep into the numbers on this, but I feel like the Texans have struggled to run the ball most of this year. And Woody Marks able to go 4.6 yards per carry in this game. Obviously, only 74 yards. It's not like he killed them or anything, but the Texans being able to run the ball with that defense was what killed them in this game. And the Bills can't stop the run, and I don't see that changing. And so outside of that, not much new to say about the Bills. You know, Josh Allen can go superhero mode in the playoffs and win as many games as that'll allow. And then whatever game he doesn't, they'll probably lose, right? Like, I don't think there's that much more to say about the Bills. On the Texans side of things, it does feel like if they were 7-4, I think I'd be more kind of taking them seriously as a team that can make the playoffs. But with how jumbled the AFC is, and Kansas City, they play them next week in Kansas City. That'll be a pretty big game for the wild card race. That game being in Kansas City, I think Kansas City will be a pretty big favorite in that game, and I'm pretty confident, even with the Kansas City swoons we've seen, that they'll be able to handle that game. So unless Kansas City, I guess Houston would have to split one of these next two games, probably more importantly taking the Kansas City game for me to start taking them seriously as a team that can make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, let's get into the Sunday action. Pittsburgh at Chicago. Chicago wins 31-28, and the Bears hang on to get their fourth straight win, and it's their 8th win out of the last 9 games. But they struggled against the Mason Rudolph-led Steelers, which maybe doesn't bode well for them despite their record. It was up and down for Mason Rudolph. He gets intercepted on his first pass attempt of the day, loses a fumble on a sack in the second half, but the Steelers had a defensive score and a 55-yard gain on a fake tush push to set up another score. Rudolph was 16 of 17 on passes under 10 air yards, but he was only 1 of 6 on throws over 10 air yards with an interception. But to be fair, I'm not sure that's on him, because rumor has it Steelers wide receivers were really confused about the concept of a pass going more than 10 yards downfield after playing with Aaron Rodgers all year. So, maybe they'll get used to that. Caleb Williams had a fumble 6 and completed only 54% of his passes, but he did throw for 3 touchdowns and only took 1 sack. The Bears went 3 and out on their last 2 drives, but the defense was able to hang on and cling to a 3-point lead, and so they do get the win. Also worth noting, TJ Watt passed his brother JJ Watt on career sack totals with his 115th sack in this game. So I think I saw JJ Watt made a joke online about how he was going to have to suit back up.
He was on the call.
Oh, JJ. He was okay. He was on the call. Yeah. That's
yeah.
What it was. I saw the clip on social. Yeah, that he was going to have to suit back up and go chase TJ's sack total. So,
and it was on the touchdown that the sack happened. So JJ was like, "Man, if it can happen anyway, that's a pretty memorable way." So at least people remember when he passed me.
Yeah.
But by the way, aside from the game, JJ Watt, phenomenal on the call. I was kind of locked in on Bears Steelers yesterday. The Sixers were on at 1:00 too, so had 3 screens going. But as the NFL game, I had Red Zone, Sixers, and the Bears game going. So my biggest bet was the Bears. Shout out to Ben Johnson and the Iceman Caleb Williams. But
the Iceman who went 3 and out the last 2 drives.
Yeah. Hey, he's had enough late game heroics this year for me to call him the Iceman. He's earned it. He's had 2 rough late game situations since I started calling him the Iceman, but I'm going to stick to it. But JJ Watt, phenomenal on the broadcast. So I think he's a rising star in the booth personally. Anyway, back to the game. We've made all these jokes about the Bear, or not even us, just in general, the Bears 8-3 record, and before the 7-3 record, and them leading that division over Detroit and Green Bay. I don't know if you saw the memes, like the 2 silly dragons, or like the two serious dragons and the 1 silly dragon, or like the I think it's Tiger Woods like looking at John Daly, and John Daly's in like the crazy golf pants with smoking a cigar, like a crazy hat on, and it's like the 6-3-1 Packers, the 7-3 Bears. Like funny memes out there about it. And I'm not telling you that they're a legit 8-3 or that they're a legit contender or anything like that. there a chance that this game was a little Mickey Mouse to be close? Like now this is going to be included in the close record of in terms of the Bears won another game by 3. How can they keep getting away with this winning close games? But like you said, Caleb takes an incredibly dumb sack in the end zone that leads to a touchdown. You have a 52-yard tush-push touchdown that felt incredibly fluky. It just felt to me like this was a game where the Bears outplayed the Steelers pretty comfortably to me. I actually thought Caleb Mosley was pretty good in this one. But I actually feel better about the Bears coming out of this game and maybe being able to compete in this next gauntlet coming forward. Also, they had to win these last 2 games against Minnesota and Pittsburgh. I think I said that 2 weeks ago going into these 2 games where I was like, neither of these games are as hard as what they have to come. But if you want to be serious, you have to win these 2.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's keep rolling then. We're going to go to Cincinnati, where New England wins 26-20, and it wasn't the prettiest game for the Patriots. They gained almost 400 yards of offense, but they only get 1 touchdown. They go 0 of 2 in the red zone, settle for 4 field goals. But they were aided by a pick 6 along the way, and they do manage to claw their way out of an early 10-0 hole and get a win over the Bengals to become the first 10-win team in the NFL, just like we all expected before the season started. I think it's fair just to shout out Mike Vrabel and Drake May for what they've done this year, because I think we both love Vrabel, and I think we were both big Drake May believers going into this year. I know I was. Yeah, as I say, I couldn't remember exactly where you were with May, but
I was saying I never gave up on May over Jaden.
Okay, yeah. So we both have always been big Vrabel guys. We both were big on Drake May, but neither one of us expected them to do what they've done this year. And I do still think there's a bit of beating up on a soft schedule, but for a team that just has a woeful talent deficiency, you don't take anything away in a negative aspect from that. Like, you're beating the teams put in front of you. It doesn't always look pretty, but it gives you a lot of hope long-term as a franchise. And a lot of teams in their situation are trying to find hope in solitary player performances while sitting at 4-7. And the Patriots are 10-2 with the best record in the NFL. And I don't ultimately think they have a legitimate shot for the Super Bowl this year, but it's a fun season for Patriots fans because you don't have to, hedge on these player development things as your positives. Like, your team is just winning football games. On the Bengals side of things, actually, hold on. One more thing from the Patriots. There was this hilarious sequence in the third quarter where they had 7 snaps from the 1-yard line and couldn't get into the end zone. So they have 3rd and goal at the 1, incomplete pass. 4th and goal at the 1, defensive pass interference. So they get a new set of downs. Then they get a run stuff. Then they commit offensive pass interference. Then they get a pass back down to the 1, and then they get stuffed consecutive times from the 1-yard line to turn it over on down. So that was kind of a hilarious sequence. On the Bengals side, the defense did take a step forward, but the offense took a step back. Flacco was kind of rough in this game. They were 3 of 13 on 3rd downs, but noise is building around Burrow playing next week. Maybe it's too little too late for the Bengals, but it's nice at least for them to see their defense take whatever small strides they can.
Yeah, the Bengals, they're donezo for the year. I mean, they should let Burrow sit and try to tank the year out, but they won't do that because Zach Taylor wants to save his job. And on the Patriots side of things, you said that you're not going to say they have a legitimate shot to win the Super Bowl. I think that they have at very least a legitimate shot to go there. You're now a game and a half up on the Colts for the 1 seed. I believe did they beat the Colts? Am I imagining that? Yeah, they didn't. I am imagining that. I think I mixed up Broncos Colts. And then you're a half game up now on Denver, and Denver has a harder schedule than you down the stretch. And you look around, and just like I said, I'm not ruling the Bills out in terms of them as a team that could go to the Super Bowl. I've said that I doubt Sean McDermott can do it. But what I would say to you, if I just said Josh Allen has the chance to go superhuman, and there's no team in the AFC that's going to necessarily shut that down. If Josh goes superhuman, there's not a team in the AFC that's going to win that game, I guess is what I would say. you could kind of say the same thing with Drake May. I mean, with the way Drake May is playing, he's the type of guy that can take this average roster along with a really great head coach in Mike Vrabel to, he could easily win 3 straight games at this point if they're the 1 seed. And it looks like they have, or I guess I should say 2 straight games if they're the 1 seed, because you'll skip the wild card round. You just need to win division and conference championship. And at this point, I think they're going to be the 1 seed. You have the Giants this week. Your Bills game that's coming up is at home. You have the Ravens, and then you have Jets Dolphins. So to me, they have 3 more locked in on their schedule. They are 13-2, and they have 2 games against Buffalo and against Baltimore. And I don't think, and neither of those teams can beat them out in terms of if they have 13 wins outside of those 2 games, because Ravens already have 5 losses, the Bills have 4, and it would come down to a tiebreaker with them in New England. So, I don't think Buffalo is going to win out anyway. So I think New England's going to be the 1 seed. And if you asked me to pick who's going to win the AFC right now, I think I'm picking New England if Kansas City's not in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, I have a hard time trusting it, but
maybe
you're right.
Who do you have an easy time trusting?
There's
AFC?
nobody, honestly, in the AFC, because Baltimore and the Bills are the 2 teams I think you would point to. And I mean, Baltimore looked bad this week, and the Bills lost this week. And so, it kind of is what it is at this point in the AFC. Everybody has major question marks.
Yeah, so. Denver. I mean, you've talked about Bo Nix on here with Denver before. The Indy just lost again. Kansas City might not make it. Baltimore might be there. They don't look like they're turning a corner really. Like there's no team in the AFC that I'm seeing that's like, oh, I'm not going to pick the 1 seed. I'm probably going to pick whoever the 1 seed is in the AFC.
Yeah, that's fair. Man, it feels weird to almost be rooting for that after all the years of hating the Patriots, but
they'd be the funnest. They'd be the most fun story. Denver's such brutal to watch. Denver's a chore to watch at times. You have Indy, who I think is kind of going the wrong direction. You look at the last 3 games for Indy. You lost to Pittsburgh. You should have lost to Atlanta and Berlin, and then now you lost to Kansas City. And then like you said, you don't want to see Kansas City make it. Buffalo, even though they haven't been there, they've been in this for so long that it doesn't feel fresh or new, even though they've never made it all the way. Same thing with Baltimore, kind of. New England, even though it just shouldn't feel fresh or new, feels fresh and new, and is kind of the most fun thing to watch. And I think that the arrival of Drake May and that being like the storyline of the AFC playoffs, I think that'd be a fun story.
Yeah. Patriots fans just go from Tom Brady, a couple bad years, and then you have Drake May.
Unreal.
All right, let's keep rolling here. Let's go to their opponent next week. You said they've got the Giants, and that's a win, but Detroit might have thought the same thing, and it took overtime for Detroit to beat the Giants 34-27. Jameis Winston had the catch of the year, and yes, I said that right, the catch of the year. He caught a 33-yard touchdown pass that involved a contested catch and a broken tackle. One of the wildest things that I've ever seen. I mean, it's like the Philly special, except he mossed a guy and then broke a tackle afterwards. So wild. Maybe they should. Jameis Winston maybe should have been wide receiver 2 all year for Jackson Dart. That would have been funny. But he also completed 10 passes of 20+ air yards en route to a 366-yard 2-touchdown day. But Jahmyr Gibbs had an outstanding day for Detroit. He goes 15 carries for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns as a runner. He had 11 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown as a receiver. And those numbers included a 69-yard touchdown run on the first play of overtime. Overall, he accounted for 53% of the Lions' offensive yards and 75% of their touchdowns, as the Lions stave off a potential disaster here had they lost to the Giants, but they do get out with a win by the skin of their teeth.
My announcement on this, well, first of all, fun game. This was such a fun game, and the NFL should be shamed for not forcing one of the 32 teams to always start Jameis. Jameis should not be on a contract to a team. He should be on a contract to the league office. and the league installs Jameis where situations start to not be fun to watch, and it'll be like, all right, you're sick of watching the. I'm trying to think of an example. The Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Jameis.
Yeah.
Like that should be what it is, and that's exactly what the Giants felt like, at least in terms of taking this instead of Russell Wilson. And at this point, like, let Jackson Dart sit and let us keep watching Jameis and get Dart healthy for next year. Dart's fun to watch too, but
He is.
On a serious note, on the Detroit side of things, my announcement for this game is that I'm sticking a fork in the loser of the 1 o'clock Thanksgiving game between Green Bay and Detroit. Whoever loses that game, I'm done. I'm done with it. Obviously, if it goes to overtime and Detroit wins on like a lucky way at home, and maybe we could argue Green Bay got unlucky. I reserve the right to completely nullify what I just said. But if it's a normal loss, I'm done with whoever loses this game. If you're Detroit and you lose this game at home to a Green Bay offense that I think is reeling, with potentially no Josh Jacobs on a short week, and you have no Tucker Kraft, when I think this passing game has really changed with no Tucker Kraft, even against the Giants. The Giants pass defense, I know they went 28 for 42 for 279, but I'm sorry, I mixed games up there. But the Packers, they played the Vikings, and 139 yards. I looked at the wrong box score. That offense was not doing anything that scares you since Tucker Kraft has been gone. Detroit gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points to the Giants in this game. If Green Bay's offense all of a sudden looks good against Detroit, I'm done with Detroit. And if Detroit goes in and beats up a Green Bay defense, that is the only thing Green Bay can hang their hat on right now, really, then that kind of makes you question Green Bay. I feel like I didn't wrap that monologue that I planned before this show well together, to be honest. But I'm done with whoever loses that game.
Yeah. All right.
Big Thanksgiving game. Huge Thanksgiving game.
It is. The funnest storyline from the NFC playoffs would be the Bears ending the Lions season, especially after the way the season started in Detroit. Send Detroit to Chicago in the playoffs and let Ben Johnson stick a stake in their heart. It would be kind of funny to see. But let's keep rolling. Let's talk Green Bay. You mentioned Green Bay. Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay wins 23-6. And we could talk about the Packers. Emmanuel Wilson steps up with the Josh Jacobs injury. He was 28 for 107 with 2 touchdowns as a runner and had 18 receiving yards. Of those 107 rushing yards, 100 of them came after contact. So nice game for Emmanuel Wilson. He might need to do it again against the Lions. But really, I think it's the Vikings side of things. If the Vikings season wasn't over, I would say you just can't play J.J. McCarthy anymore. That's how bad he's been. Since the season is over, you might as well leave him out there this year, but it's probably already time to make other plans for next season. I don't know if that's a draft pick, if that's a trade, a free agent, but you just can't. It's been that bad. You can't look this bad with a solid offensive line. Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and Jordan Addison. J.J. McCarthy dropped back to pass 24 times and ended with 52 net passing yards and 2 interceptions. So, Minnesota's season is over, but J.J. McCarthy as a starter probably also needs to be over, or this is not a serious team in 2026. You're on mute.
That's classic. JJ McCarthy stinks. 9 stinks. JJ stinks. I don't care which alter ego he has out there throwing. The guy is a bum. I've never seen anybody get more credit for doing less in their quarterback draft process than JJ McCarthy did coming out of Michigan. And maybe we should have probably thought about more of the fact that he knew what plays were coming when he was at Michigan due to a cheating scandal that Jim Harbaugh was involved in and ran away from. But anyway, I digress. I don't really take anything away from this game. Like, this was so I was with a buddy. We had the Sixers and the Bears games on, but we had Red Zone on sound for most of the time watching. Red Zone cut to this game like 8 billion times, it felt like. Everything I learned about Vikings Packers was against my will. This game was shown to me so frequently, and it was like non-red zone situations. It'd be in midfield, and they would just show like a third down, and they wouldn't convert it, and the team would punt from midfield. There were so many like midfield punts in this game. It was a pathetic game to watch. It was never close after the first, after the first half. Really, it never really was close. It just this was a brutal game to watch, an ugly game. JJ stinks. And then the Packers, we knew the defense was good. The passing game still stinks. The running game was pretty good. I mean, even still, like the running game wasn't efficient. Like Emmanuel Wilson rushed for 3.8 yards per carry. He had 107 yards, but he had 28 carries. Like they just ran the crap out of the ball, even if it didn't work most of the time. So yeah, they had short fields from JJ in certain situations, and this was a game one of the least consequential games the playoff team has been involved in all season, I'd say.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep rolling then. Let's go Seattle at Tennessee. Seattle wins 30-24, but if you're just glancing at box scores, this game was not as close as the score suggests. The Titans score a touchdown to make it a 6-point game with under a minute left. So, I mean, obviously, there's like shenanigans. You could give up an onside kick and melt down and lose the game, and you don't want to let it get there. But Seattle was pretty firmly in control of this game. And Jackson Smith-Njigba is having one of those all-time wide receiver seasons. He had 8 receptions for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, and he's on pace for a 2,000-yard receiving season. He's been over 100 receiving yards in all but 3 games this season, and in 2 of the 3 games, he had 96 and 93 receiving yards. Both were blowout wins where Darnold threw a combined 30 passes. So JSN's already set the Seattle single-season record for receiving yards in a season. He's on pace to break the NFL record. Just an unbelievable season from Jackson Smith-Njigba, a guy that we both loved coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be kind of a slot limited guy, and so I thought that would limit the teams that would want him. Seattle goes and gets him, and he's had great chemistry with Sam Darnold. So we'll officially be on record watch for JSN throughout the rest of the season. On the Titans side of things, I do think it's a positive Cam Ward game, which is a good sign for Titans fans against a stingy Seattle defense. Ward goes 28-42 for 256 yards and a touchdown. He also rushed for 37 yards and a touchdown. And Tennessee is in opposite place of New England, who we talked about earlier, that their only potential positives are looking at Cam Ward development because they're just a bad football team. But it was a nice performance from Ward, and I think Titans fans can walk away from that feeling good.
Yeah, JSN, if you'll recall, was I think I had him like 6th overall that year, and I just looked up Jackson, and I'm not getting my rankings on my Twitter, but I do see a Chalk Talk clip from a couple years ago of a little short Dibes would have put together of us 3 talking, where we were talking receivers and me yelling about how everybody said there was no elite receiver in the class, but I was always on JSN Island. I've always been a huge JSN guy, and even I don't think I ever thought he could potentially be the best receiver in the sport, which is what I think he is right now. There was kind of arguments this offseason about who the best Ohio State receiver was. And it was like, oh, JSN, Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. And before this year, if you kind of looked at fantasy rankings, that was kind of like wide receiver 11 through 20, like half of it. Even Marvin Harrison Jr. you could throw in there as like a projection guy more. But all 5 or 6 Ohio State guys were kind of in that 11 to 20 range. JSN must have heard some of that conversation and said, it's me. I'm the best of that group. I'm number 1. And I think any top 3, top 5 receiver conversation you have absolutely has to include JSN at this point. And beyond that, I don't have anything to say about Tennessee.
He was number 6 for you that year, by the way.
Yeah.
Number 13 for me.
I loved JSN. I was just so bullish on that guy coming out of college. And but Seattle, and we talked about Seattle and the Rams last week. We talked about how I walked out of that game kind of lower on both teams, and I think the Rams have something to say about that this week. But Seattle matched up really well with the Rams, I would say, for that game, especially watching Tampa match up with the Rams. Seattle lost by a field goal, or they lost by 2, right? Because the field goal would have won the game, I think. The 61-yarder that they attempted at the end. I think they lost by 2. And that was in a game Darnold threw 4 picks in. This is a roundabout Eagles conversation, by the way. So the Eagles, I don't want to talk too much about the Eagles, and none of us do. My ultimate take on the game yesterday that I referenced at the top, beyond being incredibly frustrating, is there's not really a lot of new information to take away from the game. I think a lot of the things we were talking about before the game, we're talking about after it. I don't think there's a lot more new information to take away from yesterday Eagles game, besides, to me, the fact that I think it was a really damaging shot to their chances at being a 1 seed. And that could be the difference between them making a run or not this year. And the Rams look like they're probably going to get that 1 seed. Now, this is the Eagles' hope corner a little bit here. Last year, the Eagles were the 2 seed, and it didn't end up mattering because Washington went in and beat Detroit. In my hopes, I think Seattle might have a little bit of a plan for the Los Angeles Rams. The key to that plan is that Sam Darnold just has to not be a bozo for like 3.5 hours, bro. Just relax, Sam. Just hand the ball off and throw it to JSN.
He's gonna not be a bozo for 16 out of 17 regular season games, and then the playoffs show up, and it's like, oh no. That's my fear. That's my fear with the Seahawks, because I think their defense is fantastic. I think the offense looks really good, but I just can't trust Sam Darnold until he proves it to me in a big game late in the season.
Of course, and everybody feels that way, and everybody should feel that way. But I do think I liked what I saw in terms of the way that the Rams matched up, or in terms of the way that Seattle matched up with the Rams. I have a hope in there that could happen again this year, where maybe in the NFC Championship game, if the Eagles made it through their home games, if they were the 2-3 seed, whatever it is, maybe you'd get Seattle to come to Philly instead of going to LA. Because there is part of me that can't get that Seattle LA game out of my head when I think about both these teams, because it's when I think about Seattle positively, because I think turning the ball over as many times as they did and almost going into LA and winning that game is a feather in Seattle's cap more than it's a demerit, but negatively because that's the Sam Darnold fear we talk about every week when we talk about Seattle. And then with the Rams, it's the flip side of things. So my take on Seattle is just every week it's going to be, this team's awesome. They should be a contender. Is Sam Darnold going to screw it up?
Yeah.
What else can I say? Like, until they play the Rams again, and maybe that changes things. But yeah, let's see it.
All right. Well, let's keep rolling then. Let's go Indy at KC. This game ends up in overtime with Kansas City winning 23-20, and the Colts controlled this game for the majority of it. They're up 20-9 with 9 minutes left in the game, but they went cold. They go 3 and out on 4 straight possessions in the fourth quarter and overtime, while the Chiefs scored on 3 of those 4 possessions. Daniel Jones on the final 4 drives was 3 of 9 passing for 17 yards, and the Chiefs overcome it, and they get their first 1-score victory of the season after being 11-0 in such games last year. It's a major win for the Chiefs, it's very possible they miss the playoffs, especially if they're dropping games like this, and it's a huge blow to the Colts, who have kind of firmly yielded 1 seed aspirations in the AFC at the moment. So thoughts about this game?
I think the Colts are firm. I guess you could still lose the division if you're the Colts. I don't see that happening. I think they'll probably close down the division. But I think you're the 3 seed now. Like, I think whoever wins the West, probably Denver and the Patriots, are going to be the 1 and 2. And now you're the 3 seed. You have to go to either of those teams in the playoffs. And let's just be honest. I don't think the Colts are going to New England and winning. I don't think the Colts are going to Denver and winning. I don't think the Colts are hosting the Chiefs and winning. I don't think the Colts are hosting the Ravens and winning. I don't think the Colts are hosting the Bills and winning. So whoever the Colts play in the playoffs, I'm going to pick against them. And maybe that changes down the stretch with what we see here. Maybe they get the Steelers in the playoffs. Maybe they get the Jags in the playoffs. Maybe they get the Texans. That would change it. That would maybe the Chargers. That would change things. But if you get any of Patriots, Bills, Ravens, Broncos, or Chiefs, I'm going to take any of those 5 teams against the Colts. I don't know if that's fair, But what I've seen in these last 3 games, I talked about it before this game, talking about the last 2 games, but they go out and they lose to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. They should have lost to the Falcons in Berlin. Jonathan Taylor just went nuts and saved them from losing in overtime. And then they come out and lose in overtime to Kansas City. But that game, there's also a lot of EPA stuff and metrics out there that I think the projected score EPA, I could be mixing up stats, but I think the projected score was actually like 32-18 or something like that in this game. And the Chiefs were just, and this is maybe this is a bug. Is it a bug, not a feature, or a feature, not a bug?
It's a bug. Yeah. So,
the red zone, the Chiefs' red zone is a joke. They get inside the 5 and they have no idea what to do. And it's because Patrick Mahomes got hurt on a QB sneak 8 years ago, and they're afraid to QB sneak with Mahomes. But I've seen them too many times get to the 1 and kick a field goal eventually. And Kansas City really struggles in the red zone. But yeah, wait. Is it a bug, not a feature? A feature, not a bug? What is it?
It's a bug, not a feature.
Yeah, so it's a bug, not a feature for the Chiefs' red zone offense. So maybe you could say, kind of start throwing those metrics away that tell you the Chiefs should be winning every week. But the Chiefs finally win their first one-score game of the year.
Yeah, congrats to the Chiefs. Let's go to the final game in the early slate. The Jets at Baltimore. Baltimore wins 23-10, but they started this game tremendously slow. They only put up 72 yards of offense in the first half and were trailing 7-3 at halftime. But they rebound in the second half, scored on 3 straight drives, but their offense just doesn't look right. Derrick Henry was held to 64 rushing yards on 21 carries. Lamar was only 13-23 passing. The Ravens were lucky they're playing a bad team, but they were, and so they get their 5th straight win, and they sit at 6-5. On the Jets side, they committed penalties on 2 third and long plays in those first 2 Ravens scoring drives of the second half. Kind of bailed the Ravens out a bit there. Breece Hall couldn't get anything going on the ground. He was 16 of 44 as a runner, but he was their leading receiver with 4 catches for 65 yards. So Jets just don't have much going their way, and Baltimore able to get out of a game that they very easily could have lost if a couple things bounced the other way.
So I think I looked it up. I'm going to, real quick for me, vamp for a second on this game. I want to look up a stat that my point of or you can vamp on this point. Shane, does it feel like there are far more disgustingly bad teams in these last couple years than there have ever been before?
Yeah, it does. It feels like A, there's a lot of really bad teams, and B, there's only one really good team right now in the Rams. And so, you could argue for the Seahawks, I think. You could argue for, I don't know, maybe that's all you could argue for as being a good, complete football team. But it feels like there's a glut of teams that are middle of the pack, and then there is a bunch of bad teams. There's just no true, really good teams, which makes it where I have no idea what's going to happen down the stretch when you get to the playoffs. Back to our Patriots point earlier where you think they've got a shot. Maybe they do, because there's just no true standout teams.
So the stat that I found last year, 10 teams finished worse or 5-12 or worse. 10 teams. That means the 10th pick of the draft was a 5-12 team. That seems crazy to me. I feel like the 10th pick of the draft used to be like a 7-9 team. And this year, how many teams are there that come up on this show? And I only want to talk about the teams that are even in playoff contention kind of at this point. I'm done. Let me just run down the teams that I'm kind of done with at this point of the year. I'm done with the Dolphins. I'm done with the Jets. I'm done with the Bengals. I'm done with the Browns. I'm done with the Titans. I'm done with the Raiders. I'm done with the Giants. I'm done with the Commanders. I'm done with the Vikings. I'm done with the Saints. I'm done with the Falcons. I'll tell you what, if the Panthers lose tonight, I'm pretty close to done with the Panthers, but I won't even include them in this exercise.
As bad as the Bucs are playing, you can't really include them.
No, you can't. You can't. I'm done with the Cardinals. That's 12 teams being conservative that I'm just done with. And how many teams are below 3-8? It's 1, 2, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Sorry for the bad radio, but yeah, 10 teams finished 5-12 or worse last year. 9 are on pace this year to finish 5-12 or worse. So it's like it just didn't feel to me like there used to be 9 to 14 teams that were just dreadful and a chore to watch in any shape or form towards the end of the year. I don't know. I think it's a pretty rough product this year, the NFL. I'm not someone who generally talks about the NFL like that, and I feel like I roll my eyes when people talk about college football being in trouble or the NFL being, a rough product. But the fact that we have this many crappy teams that I don't think there's anything interesting for us to really say about at this point of the year, and then we have games like, not to complain, like from an Eagles fan standpoint, the Eagles had 14 flags on them yesterday, and obviously that's undisciplined. Like the Eagles should stop getting penalties. But also, like, I don't remember ever seeing a team get 14 flags in a game when I was growing up watching football. Like, it's just half the plays feel like they're flagged now. Half the teams stink. Like, it makes it so that when there are good matchups, you get excited for them. Then when you get a game like last night with Bucks Rams and it's 28-7, and it's like, why'd I get excited about this? Like, I kind of feel like it's been one of the worst, and I mean maybe this is unbiased because the Eagles are 8-3. Like I should be enjoying this season in general as a fan, but one of the worst seasons I can remember of football.
Yeah, I was gonna try to look up penalty per game stats. It looks like this is so penalties per team per game this year, and I can't verify this, but I found it online. Is it just below 6.5 penalties per team per game? Oh, no, this only goes through 2024. Never mind. I was going to try to quickly find something and see where we were at statistically in penalties per game, but
I think it was week 7 or 8 that I saw that it was definitely up. Like penalties were definitively up league wide. But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a while. It's from eye test. We watch college football on Saturdays. I'm not going to tell you college football is a perfectly officiated product, but it doesn't feel like I have to wait for every play to celebrate or be upset because I'm like, wait, is there a flag? In the NFL now, I can't enjoy any play that happens or like on defense or offense without worrying that there's a flag that popped up that I didn't see come on the field. And I don't feel like I grew up thinking that on every single play.
Yeah, so this is median. So I mean, it's not, take it with a grain of salt, but median penalties per game. Every year since 2020 has been below 6, but in 2024 it was 6.4, and in 2025 so far it is 6.7. So your gut feeling there appears to be supported at least by median penalty statistics.
Yeah,
and how much of that, by the way, is due to forced kickoff returns? Because I feel like the NFL was like, we want people to pay attention to kickoffs. It should be an exciting play, and really now they just force kickoff returns where there's a penalty. Like that's a whole separate tangent.
I'm with you.
So, okay, let's get into the afternoon slate. I'm going to push back on you here. There's one of those teams you mentioned that we're done with that I'm not done with. But it's because of it's because of Record Watch, and that's the Cleveland Browns, who are not a team I'm interested in watching. But they beat the Raiders 24-10.
You know what? Real quick, out of the teams I listed, they might be the most interesting team, though, because of what you're about to talk about, and then obviously the Shador factor of it all.
Yeah. So, again, not a good football team, but with 6 games to play, Myles Garrett has 18 sacks, and the league single season record is 22.5. So he's got 18 sacks. He needs 4.5 sacks over the final 6 games to tie that record. Obviously 5 to beat it. And I mean, he's on a tear. And the Browns defense dominated the Raiders. They sacked Geno 10 times. Myles Garrett had 3 of the 10. The Raiders are just an abomination that racked up 13 penalties to Mark's penalty point. The quote-unquote competency hire of Pete Carroll has been a disaster. Chip Kelly was fired after this game. The Raiders are done. But Shedeur Sanders, I don't think he was great, but 11 to 20 for 209 and a touchdown with an interception and one sack. Like, we definitely could have seen far worse in terms of sacks and interceptions. And I mean, I am not a Shador guy, nor am I a Shador and the circus that comes with him guy, but Dylan Gabriel's bad. So they might as well play Shador and see what's going to happen. And so those things could at least make them a little interesting with Shador and with record watch for Myles Garrett. But yeah, I have no pushback in the like they're done in terms of being a good team, but they aren't done in terms of being an interesting team. And sometimes interesting you'll settle for in random December football games.
The Raiders, there's nothing to say about. Fire everyone. It's one of the worst jobs I can remember, though. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of if you're a head coach candidate, and it's also interesting if you're the Raiders. I was talking about this with some people, just who they would think about hiring. You can't really go with an old guy again. Like, you can't hire like a Munkin. You can't hire the name that a lot of people were floating was Spags because they interviewed him last year. And Brady's obviously the guy, and Brady probably thinks Spags is awesome because he shut him down in 2 Super Bowls. And there's also like a funny, if Brady doesn't want Mahomes to become the GOAT, maybe he takes Spags away from him, like
Yeah.
hire Spags to the Raiders to ruin Mahomes. But like you can't hire Spags now, like another old guy from like the last regime. It's different, but it's a weird. And then if we're saying like who are the top guys in the candidacy market, probably like I think Clint Kubiak is going to be up there as a top candidate. Outside of that, I don't. Maybe Cliff. Like I don't know who they are, but whoever ends up being those top 2, 3, 4 names, I think are going to be the guys who are able to say, sorry, we're not going to the Raiders. So the Raiders are going to be in a really interesting spot where you can't hire an old guy. You're probably not going to be able to hire the top of the line guys. So you're kind of have to settle. They interviewed Saleh last year, so I heard some speculation that they could go with Saleh. That would probably be my guess right now. That would take that kind of hire, where a guy who might not be a top guy for a lot of the available jobs, but not a joke of a hire, but not an old guy like Carroll. Like they kind of have to go in a different direction. But moving on from the Raiders, Myles Garrett's unbelievable. I don't know what else to say other than that. The guy's an absolute beast. He somehow leveled up, which didn't feel possible. But there's a lot of people out there who thought like the Browns were going to be worse in this game because they were starting Shador. Dylan Gabriel's terrible.
Yeah.
Like when he got drafted in the 3rd round, we all laughed at it and made fun of it, independent of Shador. Like
I told people he was terrible after watching him play at OU.
Oh, Shane hated Dylan Gabriel.
Then he went to
more than
Oregon
anybody.
and was almost in Heisman contention. But I stood by it. I stood on principle, and turns out you need to throw the ball more than 5 yards in the NFL.
Yeah. And you usually have to be more than like 5'10".
Yeah.
Yeah, people act like the Browns were a 4.5-point dog in this game. A 4.5-point dog. The Raiders were a 4.5-point favorite in an NFL football game in 2025. That's disrespectful to Myles Garrett. And it's disrespectful to Shador, who I'm not looking to respect, but Shador's better than Dylan Gabriel. And I know that he went later, and I know we all like to make fun of Shador. I think Shador's a little bit better than people want to admit because he's so annoying and because he's kind of a loser. He was a pretty historically good college quarterback the last 2 years statistically. And I'm not going to tell you that he's awesome. I do think he's pretty accurate. I think he's got a lot of pocket issues. He was my number 1 or number 2 quarterback in this class, right with Cam Ward. Like I didn't think that there was a big difference. And that, by the way, I had Cam Ward as like a 3rd round prospect. So it's not me saying that I think Shador should have went like top 5 or anything like that. I think they both should have went on day 2. But Shador has some, and the thing that I've always said about Shador, and sounds like I'm defending him. I think there's a very little chance Shador is a starter in week 1 next year for anybody, and especially for Cleveland. I imagine they go some sort of different direction. But what I will say about Shador, if you're looking for reasons to buy in and reasons for hope in Shador, if you're a Browns fan or whatever, a Shador fan, whatever it is, the fact that he's only been coached in his career by his dad, I do think it's probably good to see him get coached by someone else. And in his first game here, he has 200 yards. Was it always efficient? No. But Stefanski was able to cook up some big plays for him. I do think Dion's a terrible football coach. So the fact that he's actually being coached by like a real football coach, I
Yeah.
think could make a difference for him.
I on the Raiders thing, I don't think the Raiders have to be like the worst job. I mean, so you're going to have a top 5 pick and quarterback's obviously a big need, but you can hire a guy and say, "Hey, you can come pick a quarterback." You have Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, which is interesting to build around offensively. You have Max Crosby, who's only 28, and he's under contract for 5 more seasons. You have the most salary cap space in the NFL going into next season at $119 million. And so, if you get the right hire and you can make the right move at quarterback, whether that be acquiring somebody from another team or free agency or hitting on the draft, you've got a lot of cap space to work with, and you've got some building blocks. Like, I don't think this is going to magically be a playoff team next year, and it always stinks to be in a division against, in a division with Mahomes and now apparently with Sean Payton, but I don't think it has to be like this is not like a Saints landing spot from last year, because your salary cap's healthy and you do have some young players that are good. So I don't think it's nearly as bad as like the Saints, and they went and got Kellen Moore last year. So I think they can probably land a hire. I don't think it's going to be as dire of a situation as some teams we've seen in the past.
Is it a better job than the Titans?
I
actually think it is now that I'm saying it. So I kind of think I lied earlier, but
I don't know what their cap space looks like, but I know they're pretty devoid of talent, and I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it depends on if you believe in Cam Ward.
I don't.
Oh, the Titans have the second most cap space at 117 million. So cap space wise, it's a wash. I think I would rather have Bowers, Genty, and Crosby than have Cam Ward. And I honestly don't know that I could name many other players on the Titans roster.
I would rather have the Raiders kind of question box at quarterback than Cam Ward, I guess. So I'd rather get the Raiders job.
Yeah, that question box could be anything. It could even be Cam Ward.
It's been a bad situation, and I said before the year I wouldn't judge Cam Ward, but I wasn't in on Cam Ward before the year. So it's easy for me to say that I feel like I've seen everything I thought I would see from Cam Ward. I said going into the draft, I don't know what he's like good at. Or I should say, I don't know what he's great at. And I don't think it's anything.
Yeah. All right, let's keep rolling. We got 3 games left here. Jags at Cardinals. Jags win in overtime. Trevor Lawrence turned the ball over 4 times against a 3-win team, but the Jags survive and win the game in overtime. He had a fumble 6 on the second possession of the game and then 3 second-half interceptions. This is Trevor Lawrence's 4th straight game with at least 1 turnover. His 4.4% turnover-worthy play rate is the highest of his career, and it trails only Spencer Rattler and Tua for the worst in the NFL. So I remember saying 2 years ago it's time for Trevor Lawrence to grow up and quit putting the ball in harm's way so much, and he's just continued to double down on that each of the last 2 years. And so the Jags win this game barely, and they now sit 1 game behind the Colts, who lost in a division that it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. They'll probably be one and done in the playoffs anyways. But they do face off 2 times in the final 5 weeks of the season, so that'll at least be fun to watch. On the Cardinals side, Jacoby Brissett continues to drop back a ridiculous amount of times. He had 55 dropbacks in this game, and he has averaged 54 dropbacks per game in the last 3 weeks because the Cardinals have no run game. But I don't really have anything else to say about the Cardinals, and I don't really have anything else to say about the Jags, except, man, Trevor Lawrence, it's just bad. Just bad.
Can I say this about Trevor Lawrence, though?
He's a top 5 quarterback.
When he wasn't throwing picks, the other throws were pretty cool. He had some nice throws.
That's always been the case, right?
It was the most Trevor game of all time.
Yeah, makes good throws. The flashes have always been there. You just can't be this reckless. And what is this, year 5, year 6 for Trevor? The excuses are out. You can't continue to be this reckless with the football.
It's insanity. The one pick he threw across the middle of the field, Liam Cohen. had no idea what he was looking at. Did you see that clip where Liam Cohen's like, "Whoa, what?" Like he throws his arms up and he's looking at the Titantron. So apparently, what happened there? I think Trevor audibled,
Yeah.
and Liam didn't know that. I guess that the play they were going to run was what they were going to run, and so that's what he threw his arms up about. And the announcer, what's the plural word of audible, Shane?
Audibles.
I guess I should say if you audible in past tense, what do you do?
Audibled.
Yes, the announcer kept saying audibleized. That's not it. That can't be it.
That's not it. It's
It
got to
can't
be
be it.
audible.
It can't be an audibleized. It can't be audibleized. But yeah, I think audible is the correct way to say that. But yeah, that was what they were talking about on the broadcast. That was why Liam Cohen threw his hands up like that. But yeah, this was the most Trevor Lawrence game of all time. The touchdown he threw to Parker Washington in the end zone was an insane layered throw. Like had to get through like two guys to get there. Kind of had to like loop over the guy. Like it was a perfect throw, and then he throws picks in the middle of the field directly to Arizona Cardinals. Like it is stunning how bad to good that guy can be, quarter to quarter, half to half, game to game. It's incredible. Trevor is the ultimate quarterback for discourse. I'd like to thank him. Also, I bet on the Jags and covered, and somehow like I blocked out this game at one point of the Eagles game. I did not know this game went to overtime. I thought it ended 24-21 until like last night. And I found out this game went to overtime. I was like, whoa, missed that. So yeah, the Jags tried to blow it, but they didn't. Good for them. They're absolute frauds and complete losers. But I guess they've won enough games for me to have to not call them losers that often.
Yeah. I think I said this, but Lawrence is third in turnover worthy play rate this season. Last season, he did not have enough dropbacks to qualify. Let's see if I bump it down to 20%. Yeah, if I drop it down to 20% of dropbacks, he was 10th last season. You go to 2023, and he was, let me see, it's great radio as well. He was fourth, so he's been third, 10th, and fourth over the last 3 years in turnover worthy play rate among qualifying quarterbacks. So, okay, let's go to the last game from the late slate or the afternoon slate, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to audibilize on this one myself because Atlanta 24, New Orleans 10, and that's it. That's all I got. Don't care. Two bad teams.
I'm good.
Two bad teams. Backup quarterback for Atlanta. I got nothing to say. If you are a Falcons fan or a Saints fan, I apologize. Maybe your teams will be interesting or play an interesting team next week, and we'll talk about them some more. So, no offense.
I bet the Saints. Kellen Moore, come home. Just come.
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. No offense, but your teams are offensive. And then the Sunday night game, Tampa Bay at Los Angeles, and the Rams just dominated this one, 34-7. The Rams are the team to beat in the NFC. They declared that emphatically last week against the Seahawks, and then they dominated the Bucs in prime time on the same day the Eagles lost to the Cowboys and the Bears squeaked by the Steelers' backup quarterback. And so the Rams are firmly in control of their own destiny as the 1 seed. Stafford completed his first 12 passes, leading 3 straight scoring drives, and then unlike the Eagles, they didn't stop playing when they got up 21-0, but rather they kept a foot on the gas and poured it on. And it was 31-7 at halftime, and they basically coasted. But Baker Mayfield injured his shoulder and left the game in the first half, and it was his left shoulder, I believe, but not before tossing 2 picks. And so the Bucs have now dropped 3 straight, and they're in real danger of losing the division to the Panthers. They will cede the lead to the Panthers if the Panthers are able to beat the 49ers tonight.
Yeah, I came on here last week saying that Tampa could maybe get right down the stretch here. Now, I did say after the Rams game, I said they'd probably lose to the Rams. And you look at the schedule, J.J. McCarthy is in concussion protocol. They should have announced that before the game. But sorry for the breaking news there. But after that, Tampa has Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta, at Carolina, Miami, Carolina. So there is a chance here for Tampa to get right. But now Baker's hurt. and the team looked horrible. This game was over before it started. I mean, it was 14-0 with a pick six, right? Like within, I don't know how quickly in this game, 7 minutes into this game, 10 minutes into this game, whatever it was. And then after that, Baker gets hurt pretty quick after that. So it was never gonna materialize. The Rams dominated this game for sure. I don't know what else to say about it. The Rams are the best team in football right now for sure. And I'm definitely higher on the Eagles than Shane is for sure at this point, and I have a lot of concerns about the Eagles too. But I still feel good about pretty much any team coming to Philly and playing in a playoff game. I don't feel good about going to LA. So the Eagles not getting the 1 seed and opening up the potential for a potential NFC Championship game in LA is a bad situation for the Eagles. So that's my takeaway from this game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is going to do it.
Do you disagree with that take though?
I fear any opponent the Eagles face in a playoff game on any field until their offense proves that they're competent. Because
fear's the wrong word. Would you pick anyone to beat us? Fear is correct. You're right in what you said.
It depends on the situation. Like, I wouldn't pick the Packers right now because I would pick any team with a decent offense probably because I just don't think the Eagles offense can put up points. And I think it's going to be tough for the defense to consistently hold teams to 14 points in the playoffs. But
let me drill down on that real fast though. Detroit. Okay. We just saw Detroit come here. We've seen Jared Goff in the cold. They have a decent offense, but I think they have specific problems coming here, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that game would be a toss-up. I mean, we saw the Eagles' pass rush fall off against the Cowboys last night, like yesterday afternoon, whatever time that was. We saw that fall off. I think so much of what caused issues for the Lions was the Eagles' pass rush taking over in a way they haven't really done outside of that game, and then the wind factor of it. And so maybe you catch bad weather and that impacts Goff more. Maybe your pass rush plays really well. But I would be a little concerned about that offense, and I'm going to be concerned about our offense no matter who we play. So I'd call that one a toss-up. I would pick them over the Packers.
Seattle, we've talked about Darnold.
Yeah, Seattle, it comes down to the Darnold factor. I'm probably going to think that Darnold will get rattled, but that's just one of those things.
Tampa's a train wreck right now.
Yeah, Tampa's a train wreck. I would definitely pick the Rams over them. The Bears will find out on Friday, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find out on Friday, but we're a 7.5-point favorite right now. Like even after, and I think, by the way, that's insane.
Yeah, that's an insane line, but I also don't think the Bears are really that good.
Neither do I. I would bet the Bears if I wasn't I don't bet against the Eagles. If I was someone who bet against the Eagles, I would bet the Bears 7.5 there. Maybe not money line. I would take the 7.5. But I think that says who you would pick in a game, in a straight up playoff game. It's just, to me, the only team that I could see coming into Philly, or not could see is wrong. The only team that I think would be under a 3-point favorite or a 3-point underdog would be Seattle. And then you have the Darnold factor about that we've talked ad nauseum about. So it's just one of those, it's actually more about the rest of the league than the Eagles when I talk about my confidence in the Eagles.
Yeah, that's for sure fair. And it goes back to that whole situation of there's just not really any juggernauts. And it feels like the Rams are one of those now, really playing good football right now. Is Stafford going to win MVP? I think he probably is. Probably
at this point. I maybe I'm wrong to just keep bringing it up. I can't get that Seattle game out of my head with the Rams, where that offense did not look great for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah, I think Seattle. I hesitate to make a proclamation off of a divisional game because those are always weird.
Absolutely.
But I think Mike McDonald's probably got a good answer to the Rams' 13 personnel. The question is, do they have an answer to Sam Darnold against the Rams defense? And that's
can't play worse, right?
Yeah. Can't play worse, and you still had a shot to win. So that's a matchup that'll be really interesting to see. Have they already played twice this year, or was that the
No,
first
they have
time?
another one in Seattle.
Yeah, that'll be a fantastic game to watch that I think will tell us a lot.
and we'll be rooting for Seattle here in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So, all right. Was that our final thoughts? Do you have any other final
Yeah,
thoughts
that
you
could
want
be
to
the
throw
final
out there?
That was good.
Any
tangent.
early call outs for the Panthers 49ers game tonight you want to throw out there?
I don't know what I expect in this game tonight. I'm not betting on it. I don't think I'm gonna watch it even, to be honest. I think it might be a wife night for me after a long football
Same.
weekend.
Same.
But let me see if I like the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. I'll give a little Thanksgiving nugget, a little chicken Thanksgiving nugget out there, turkey nugget. I like the Chiefs -3.5 at Dallas. I kind of like a little letdown spot for Dallas after such an emotional kind of comeback win, and not a you played on Monday, then Sunday, then Thursday. I think it's 3 games in like 16 days or something like that for Dallas. Maybe I think I have that right. So a lot of games in a short amount of time for Dallas. I kind of like Kansas City to get things done.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you for joining us for episode number 213 of Chalk Talk. If you enjoy what you heard on the show, and we know that you do, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode. 5-star ratings and reviews are always appreciated. You guys have safe travels for Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great Turkey Day that's capped off with a Cowboys loss. Those are always fun. But otherwise, Mark's given me the non-offensive finger.
Final thought.
Yes.
Every time this week comes around on Thanksgiving week, people start talking about, well, turkey's actually overrated, and it's the stuffing and the mashed potatoes and the cranberry sauce, whatever they like. I love turkey. I'll just say it. I love turkey, love gravy with some turkey. I could eat turkey I could do like once every couple weeks, a nice little Thanksgiving dinner, turkey and gravy, hot turkey. It should be more of a staple in food society.
I used to be out on turkey, and then I realized it's because everybody overcooks turkey. So
It's true. That's
get you a
fact.
temperature probe, cook your turkey to the right temperature, smoke your turkey, I should say, to the right temperature, and it'll be fantastic. So like the turkey, like the dressing, I can walk away from the rest of it. But more turkey and dressing.
I just loaded up with turkey. I'm a huge turkey. I'm not even that picky with turkey. I'm also a huge gravy guy, so that plays a factor.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there you have it. Thanksgiving tips from Mark and I. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Shane Half NFL. He is at Mark Henry Jr. And we will catch you guys next time.